Well, it looks like PlayStation finally woke up and chose to correct course, especially when it comes to their current rollout of games. But the question now remains, is it a little too late? Well, let's break that all down. Up next. What's going on, guys? It's Kalo, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. So in the past, I've been very critical on PlayStation and their outright greed-filled push into live service games. This is simply because I know what PlayStation can do when it comes to their first-party games. And to kind of see them throw that all away in chase of this mythical cash cow, yeah, it's not sitting right with me. Now I want to be clear, I don't think making a live service game here and there could hurt anyone. More or less, it's their frequency in which they went about this. And now it looks like they're finally catching on to that. I mean, if we do look back on their track record alone when it comes to their live service game push, we can clearly see out of the 12 proposed live service games, I'd honestly say the one being Helldivers 2 was the only good thing to come of it. We can take a look at games like Foam Stars, that canceled the Last of Us live service game. Don't even get me started on that Spider-Man game. Let's talk about fair games. How about Marathon? Or let's talk about the big one being Concord. I feel it's only right to address the fact that if you are another studio within the world of PlayStation that is making a live service game, you should be really scared right now. Because as we've all seen over the past few releases, and I'm talking the ones that went out to flop shortly after, suffered closures and cuts post-launch. Now, why am I bringing this all up aside from the rage bait that it is? Well, recently an interview was held with PlayStation CEO Herman Holtz, and this is all with the Financial Times, and this is where he elaborated more on the disaster that was Concord and what PlayStation is right now doing to mitigate the risk. Quote, in an interview with the Financial Times, PlayStation CEO Herman Holtz says the company is hoping to mitigate future big, expensive risks with future games. I don't want teams to always play it safe, but I would like for us, when we fail, to fail early and cheaply. I mean, that one's getting me mad now. That is straight hubris. Now, keep in mind, Concord was not a cheap failure by any stretch of the word. It did cost Sony around $250 million, and it sold poorly, had lower player counts. I mean, to speak to that, I do think, at least at that point in time, I had more subscribers here on YouTube than Concord had players, which that's pretty telling. But shortly after launch, the game itself and the studio were shut down a mere week after the launch. But despite all that, oddly enough, that wasn't the quote that really got me going, so let's dive into that one. Quote, we have since put in place much more rigorous and more frequent testing in very many different ways. The advantage of every failure is that people understand how necessary that oversight is. Now, let me just take a real deep breath here before I say anything I'm going to regret in the long run. But that right there proves what I've been saying right along about PlayStation. Clearly they've lost their way, and clearly there's no proper setup to ensure these games come out on par with the fan base, and especially their standards for it. And that right there is shocking to hear alone, simply because they don't have a QA team that played these games all the way through before. I mean, to be fair, they most likely did, but what do you mean since then? How much more rigorous and frequent are you testing these games compared to before? Also, as PlayStation and all these executives, how come you didn't see the writing on the wall when you continued to cancel these games left and right? Wouldn't that right there be the huge indicator that these things are going wrong? There is something fundamentally wrong here. This article from IGN also goes on to state they talked to more studio heads at Sony Studios. And they said that oversight has to do with focus on group testing, more communication between internal studios, and a closer relationship between top executives. Quote, if we're heading towards a giant landmine, like there's another studio making the same exact game, which that's a problem, that's good information, said Jason Connell, art director at Ghost of Yotei studio Sucker Punch. I mean, whenever we do talk about Concord alone, Sony should have seen the saturation that did exist within the world of multiplayer games. And again, it's not like there's some random small studio making a small random game. They are the market leader within gaming. PlayStation is great, but clearly they lost sight of that. And with all that comes a higher standard to make quality games, and just the outright responsibility to be in tune with your fan base who funds your company and what they want. All I can say now is I am very concerned for the launch of Marathon that is slated to come out in March of 2026 because that game faced a delay. And this all has to do with Bungie because I do think they're a legendary studio and I would absolutely hate to see that studio hit with layoffs or an outright closure. But with all that being said, I'm gonna pass this one off to you guys. What do you think about all this? But that about does it here. I've been Kalo. I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video. And this has been the Level Up.